Congratulations on the purchase of the Grace Company's Majestic Machien Quilting Frame. This is a no-based frame designed to make your quilting projects easier, more convenient, and more beautiful. We know you'll enjoy the frame for years to come. This video will walk you through the steps of setting up your Majestic Quilting Frame in king size. If you're setting up your frame in crib size, only a few small changes will be needed. These will be pointed out as we go along. The following instructions are meant to be used as a companion to the printed instruction booklet that came with your frame. Before we begin, gather the tools you'll need to complete this assembly. We have provided the open wrench and the Allen wrenches. It is also a good idea to identify the parts of your frame, comparing the box contents with the parts list in your booklet. This will help you get familiar with the various pieces, and you can double check to make sure all the parts are there. If anything appears to be missing or damaged, contact the Grace Company directly at 1-800-264-0644. After you've taken inventory of your parts, you'll be ready to begin. Joining us for this assembly demonstration will be Sally Scott. First, we will adjust the height adjustable legs. Unscrew the M8 socket head screws on each side of the leg assembly. Slide the leg out to the desired height. After selecting your setting, replace and tighten the screws back into the leg on each side. Repeat this step again with all the other legs, making sure the leg is set to the same height. Now we'll start with the right stand assembly. For the rest of this video, we'll use the terms right and left as if you were looking at the frame from the front. Attach the leg table brace to the top of the two legs using 4 M6 by 10 mm socket head screws. At this point, do not tighten any screws completely until all pieces for the stands are in place. Make sure that the folded tab on top of the leg table brace is pointing inward toward the legs. Now we'll start with the right stand assembly. For the rest of this video, we'll use the terms right and left as if you were looking at the frame from the front. Now take 4 more M6 by 10 socket head screws and attach the lower leg brace to the middle of the legs on the same side as the leg table brace. Now on the side opposite the first two leg braces, use 4 more M6 by 10 screws to attach the side leg brace right. This is a leg brace with the extended arm to hold your rail. Now that the right stand is complete, tighten down all the screws completely. Repeat this process to assemble the left stand assembly. If you are setting up your frame in crib size, you do not need the middle stand. Skip this step and go to step 4. To assemble the middle stand, first attach the leg table brace to the top of the legs using 4 M6 by 10 screws. Do not tighten the screws completely until all the pieces for the stand are assembled. Again, make sure that the folded tabs on top of all leg braces point inward toward the legs. Next, attach the lower leg brace using 4 more M6 by 10 screws. Now on the other side of the stand, attach another leg table brace to the top of the legs, and then another lower leg brace. You have now assembled the middle stand. Tighten all the screws completely at this time. Now you will put the track supports together on the stands you've made. It is helpful at this point to lay out the stands and track supports in the positions that they will be when the frame is complete. 4 track supports and the left, middle, and right stands are shown here. If you are setting up the frame in crib size, you will only need 2 track supports and you will not have the middle stand. We will start by attaching the end of one of the track supports to the top front corner of the left stand. Be sure to align the track support with screw holes on the outside edge of the stand, not the holes on the close edge. Use 2 M6 by 10 screws, but do not tighten them or any of the screws in the track supports completely until all the track supports are attached to all of the stands. Now attach the other end of the track support to the top of the middle stand using 2 M6 by 10 screws. If you are setting up in crib size, you will attach the other end of the track support to the right stand instead of the middle stand. For those setting up in king size, take another track support and attach it to the top of the right stand with 2 more M6 by 10 screws. Now attach the other end of that same track support into the top of the middle stand, again using 2 M6 by 10 screws. Again, don't tighten the screws completely until all the track supports are in place. This completes one side of the frame. Repeat these actions on the other side of the stands with the other track supports. When both sides are completed, tighten down all of the screws. There are 6 table supports for a king-size frame, or 3 for the crib size. We will now insert them into the middle of the frame. To attach a table support, make sure that the side with the pre-installed tape is on top. Attach the table support to the insides of the track supports using 2 smaller M5 by 10 screws on both sides. Insert all 6 table supports in this way. Now we'll attach the left frame end to the left stand. Use 2 M6 screws to attach the front of the left frame end to the front of the left stand. For the back, attach the black plastic left corner to the left frame end and left side using 2 M6 by 10 screws. Repeat this to attach the right frame end to the right stand. Now we'll assemble the rail ends for your frame. We'll start with the take-up rail end. It is important to note that the rail ends on the right side of the frame have the ratchets and the locking switch, while the left side rail ends do not. We'll show the left side being assembled. Insert an M6 by 15 hex bolt into the black plastic take-up mount. Using 2 more M6 by 15 hex bolts, attach the plastic take-up mount to the left take-up rail end. Tighten the bolts from the other side with 2 M6 black plastic knobs. Attach the take-up rail end to the left frame end by threading the M6 by 15 hex bolts that you already installed in the take-up mount through the frame end. Tighten the bolt on the other side of the frame end with an M8 flat washer and an M6 hex nut. Repeat these steps for the right side take-up rail end. Now we'll assemble the front rail ends in a similar manner. Once again, we'll start on the left side. Remember that the left sides do not have ratchets and the right sides do. Insert an M6 by 30 hex bolt into the plastic front rail end mount. Attach the plastic rail end mount to the front rail end with 2 M6 by 15 hex bolts and tighten them with 2 M6 black plastic knobs. Attach the front rail end to the left frame end by threading the M6 by 30 hex bolt that you just installed through the frame end. Make sure that the front rail end is right side up by seeing that the hole is on top. Tighten the bolt with an M6 plastic knob. Repeat these steps for the right side front rail end. Now we'll assemble the bungee hold plate. Attach a bungee bar to the bungee hold plate with an M8 by 15 carriage bolt and an M8 plastic knob. Attach the other bungee bar to the bungee hold plate in the same way. Now attach the bungee hold plate assembly to the take-up rail end with an M8 by 20 carriage bolt and an M8 plastic knob. Attach the other end of the bungee hold plate to the front rail end in the same way. Now repeat this process to assemble and attach the other bungee hold plate to the other side of the frame. Next, we'll assemble the rails of the frame. You have 1 hand wheel ratchet insert, 5 regular ratchet inserts, and 2 4th rail end caps. The hand wheel ratchet insert looks like the regular ratchet insert except that it has a longer bolt. Unscrew this longer bolt and remove the washer from the insert assembly. Attach the hand wheel to the insert in place of the washer and replace the long bolt. Now slide the hand wheel insert assembly into one end of a rail. If the insert assembly won't fit, loosen the hex nut on the end of the assembly and try loosening the pieces of the assembly a little before reinserting. When it is inserted, tighten the bolt with the Allen wrench. Now we will assemble the regular ratchet insert to the other side of the rail. If you are setting up in King, each rail is comprised of 2 rail lengths, so you will need to insert the ratchet into the end of a different rail than the one with the hand wheel. We will be connecting the rails together soon. If you are setting up in Crib, slide the regular ratchet insert into the opposite end of the rail with the hand wheel. Once the hand wheel and the regular ratchet are inserted into the ends of their rails, insert the regular ratchet rail ends for the front and bottom rails. Then insert the fourth rail end caps into their rails in the same manner. If you're setting the frame up in king, you will now couple the rails together. If you're setting up in crib, you may skip this process and go to the next step, which is step 11. Slide a rail coupler halfway into an open end of the rail. Align the bolt holes on each rail with the holes in the rail coupler. Tighten the pre-assembled screws through the rail and coupler. Slide another rail on the other end of the coupler, and then tighten the screws on that end. The rails and couplers are designed for a secure fit and may seem like a tight squeeze. Now do the same with the other rails and rail couplers. Next, we'll assemble the track runners and then attach them to the frame. If you are setting up your frame in crib size, you may now slide your black plastic track into each side of your track runner, as we will show soon. If you are setting up in king size, you will couple two track runners together. To do this, first place an M5 screw into the third hole of the track runner. We'll use this screw as a stop to hold the track coupler in place. Slide the track coupler into the end of the track runner until it stops against the screw. Insert two M5x10 screws into the holes and tighten them to hold the coupler in place. The screw heads will stick out a little, but this is normal. When the screws are tight, now slide the other end of the coupler into the open end of another track runner. Tighten the track runner to the coupler with two more M5x10 screws. Remove the screw from the third hole that was used as a stop. Now slide the black plastic track into each side of the track runners. You will need the long track for king size, or the short track if setting up in crib. Repeat this process again for the other track runner. Now that your track is assembled, we'll attach it to the frame. Start at the back of the frame first. Place a track runner on the back of the frame, with the screw heads fitting into the slots. Slide the track runner as far to the back of the frame as it will go. Secure the track runner to the frame from underneath with 8 M5x10 screws and 8 M5 washers. Now place the other track runner on the front of the frame. Insert 8 screws and washers from underneath as before, but leave them loose and do not tighten them all the way at this time. Take the bottom carriage and place it on the tracks, positioning the front track so that it lines up with the carriage wheels. Slowly move the carriage down the track, stopping each time you arrive at a screw so that you can tighten it in place. This will make sure your track is aligned to your carriage. Now we will put the plastic table on the frame. You will need 2 black tables for a king-size frame and 1 for a crib-size frame. First, place a few 1-foot-long pieces of backing tape along the back track support, at least 1 piece for every 3 feet. When all the tape is in place, peel the non-stick backing from the tape on the track supports and the table supports. Make sure that the textured surface of the plastic table is facing up. Then carefully align the table with the end table brace and lay the table on the frame. Press firmly to attach the table to the backing tape. Now we'll begin putting together the carriage. We'll start with the top plate and handlebars. Align the handle with the holes in the back corner of the top plate. Using 2 M6x10 screws and 2 M6 nylock nuts, attach the handle to the frame with both an open wrench and an Allen wrench. Repeat this for the other handle. Next, place a black handle cross brace on top of the handles so that the screw holes line up. Attach the handle cross brace to the handles with 2 M6x10 screws and 2 M6 nylock nuts so that the screws are on the outside and the nuts are on the inside. Tighten all screws completely. Peel the non-stick backing from the tape on the bottom carriage. Carefully align the black bottom carriage plate over the bottom carriage with the textured side up. Press the plate firmly in place against the backing tape. To attach the carriage to the frame, place the bottom carriage on your frame, making sure that the bottom wheels line up with the tracks all the way across the frame. Next, place the top plate on the bottom plate with the handles facing toward the front of the frame. To attach the rails to the frame, open up the top of the ratchet housing and insert the rail assembly. The rail with the hand wheel goes into the take-up rail end, with the hand wheel on the right side. Close the ratchet housing and spin the rail to make sure the ratchets are working. The fourth rail goes into the holder on the leg braces and does not have a ratchet system like the other rails. Congratulations! Your frame is now complete and ready to begin quilting. The next segment will show you how to attach your fabric to the rails. Installing your fabric to a grace frame is easier than on any other frame because of our FabriFast system. Each rail has a FabriFast slot and tubing. The quilt is made of 3 layers. The quilt top is the top layer, the batting goes in the middle, and the backing is on the bottom. We recommend that you start with some practice material so you can become familiar with machine frame quilting before doing your first quilt. We'll be using cloth leaders for this installation. This is a good way to manage and align your fabric and saves you time at the end of your project, but it is not necessary. Begin installing your fabric into the FabriFast slot with the tubing using the FabriFast tool. If you are not using cloth leaders, simply insert your fabric directly into the FabriFast slot in the same way. There is more than one order in which to install your fabric layers. We will show you one way, and the instructions will show you an alternative order. Any order will work as long as the correct layer is placed on the correct rail with the correct side facing up. We'll now start with the quilt top layer. This is pinned to the cloth leader on the bottom rail. This is the third rail or bottom rail with a ratchet, but not the fourth rail. Make sure that the top of the quilt top layer is facing out as you roll it all the way onto this rail. The backing, or the bottom of the quilt layers, will first be attached to the top rail and rolled so that the finished side of the fabric is facing out. The other end of the backing is now pulled over to the take-up rail and attached there. Next, remove the bottom rail with the quilt top rolled onto it. Attach and roll the batting to the fourth rail. Make sure not to stretch the batting. If your batting is fairly thick, it might be easier to attach it to the rail with tape rather than using the FabriFast system. Now pull the edge of the batting up over the frame to the take-up rail and pin it to the backing, not the cloth leader. Reinsert the bottom rail with the rolled up quilt top. Unlock the ratchet so that the quilt top can be pulled out. Pull the edge of the quilt top up over the frame to the take-up rail and pin it with the batting to the backing, not the cloth leader. Now that all the fabric is attached, lock all the ratchets again so that the rails only spin one direction. Now tighten all the layers by slowly turning the rails. Now that the fabric is attached to the frame, we will attach the bungee clamps to give us even tension on the sides of our fabric. First, clip a bungee clamp to the side of the quilt. Then insert the end of the bungee cord through the bungee holder. Do this for all 4 bungee clamps. Now you have completed your fabric installation and are ready to quilt.